part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
It's hard to miss us when we won't go away. This is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast
for the sports collector.
I just had to chuck a pin at you. What are you doing over there?
I was reading a crazy tweet from
No,
an
you
ex-MLB agent.
No, I literally looked at your phone. You were Googling the word boobies.
Would you like to read that tweet? I'm not going to read it out loud, but you can read it, and it's pretty solid. So, yes, I was slightly distracted.
You know, when I think of all the times to just open your phone and start scrolling through Facebook, maybe not during the opening.
We've got a 20-second intro.
I'm also going to say this.
Press Play Podcast
last week, you made a disaster out of the opening. Does it bring you joy to derail this immediately?
Well, it does force
You're like
us
the
to
Norfolk
concentrate.
Southern of podcast openings.
Oh, too soon.
Was it?
A little bit. There's still like an apocalypse happening.
Well,
in
they need to
Northeast
get
Ohio.
it together, and there's an apocalypse happening in this episode.
Is that tweet not really good,
I'm
though?
not reading your tweet.
No, but
We're
was it not
opening the
good?
show. A minute, 15 seconds wasted.
You read it already.
Folks at home, I didn't read it.
You didn't read it when I handed you my phone.
I looked at it so you'd stop talking about it. I
okay.
didn't read
I
it.
wanted you to read it. It was a great tweet.
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary Lemaster.
We're brought to you by the Press Play Podcast
so
Network. I just
angry.
don't understand. We write down notes, we script this out, and then immediately you're like, huh?
So angry.
You're the dumbest smart friend I've ever had.
All right. Well, hey, we're in it now. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, we're in it now. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about sports cards.
We're going to give it a shot at least.
Yeah. I'm legitimately a little bit pissed.
I can tell.
I just feel like it's on purpose at this point.
This is my response to your random singing of Garth
You know
Brooks
what it
songs.
is?
What is
You're
it?
playing my game, and I don't like this. I instigate. I stir the pot.
And I get pissed, and it's entertaining
I'm the
for you?
passive-aggressive one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So
See how it feels?
this is a lesson.
It wasn't, but I'm turning it
Trying to
into
turn this
one.
into the end of a Walton's episode. Good night, GW. Good night, Jason. Harmonica.
No, so few people know what you're talking about right now.
Well, all my fundy evangelicals do.
That's
Ain't that right? Approved TV. Okay.
What do we got?
Let's start talking about release. I'm going to, Bowman's best.
You did read the tweet.
Best. Bowman's best.
Yeah, it came out this week.
I love this product to open. I love how it looks. I just wish the market would agree with me.
The problem with Bowman's Best is very simple.
Oh.
No, it really is.
I know. It's just like a dissertation. I say something, you're like, here's the deal.
Well, the problem with Bowman's Best is very simple. There are tons of prospect cards that aren't rookie cards. And you already have that in regular Bowman and Bowman Chrome and Bowman Draft.
Yes.
So it's just another variation of things that 70% of what's in the box aren't going to hold a lot of value.
So maybe more like a high-end insert chase.
Yeah, really, that's pretty much what it is. And the good news is the price point's not usually awful. You know, $200 to $300, and you can hit some really cool stuff. But you're also going to hit a lot of stuff that you're like, man, this is awesome. You'll hit a of 99 auto of a guy who was a chase in the most recent Bowman for their first, and then you look it up and it's worth 10% of what the Bowman first is worth. Yeah. So that's the issue with it. Is it a cool product to collect because you can get some really cool stuff and autos and things on the cheap?
Yep.
Absolutely. But if you're ripping this product to hit some type of a banger, it's tough.
Here's a stupid question. Do they still like have some of the same terminology for inserts like atomic refractor like they did in the 90s? Okay.
Yep,
Is
for
it
sure.
labeled like that?
It is. It's same thing in Bowman. Like you get atomics in Bowman, in regular Bowman.
I know that like we call it that. That's what it is.
Yeah, but that's what it's
they
actually labeled
label
at in the checklist. Yeah.
You know what card I regret giving up is that Paul Pierce atomic refractor.
Yeah. I remember when you bought that in that collection, it was just there. You were like, I think this might be worth something. This was really early. You were just getting back into this
First storage unit collection I bought.
Yeah, I think you paid $200 for the collection.
Not even that.
Yeah, and this was in it, and I came up and looked at it, and I thought it might get a 10. It was really clean. It was your first PSA sub ever, wasn't it?
I was nervous.
Yeah, because it was numbered to 99, Hall of Famer. What'd you end up selling that for when you got it back? $400.
I did okay on the value. It's just a card I'd like to hang on to because there's not a lot of those. And
well, there's only 99 of them.
Yeah. Anyway, Bowman's Best. Let's talk a little Top Series 1. So I still love the product. I've opened a decent amount of retail, not a ton. Retail kind of sucks.
They nerfed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And they were honest about it. They told everybody. So if you're not paying attention to the things that Top says in tweets and in their odds releasing and everything else.
You could pay attention to what they're saying as your show opens if you'd like.
Yeah.
Like you hit record, you have notes, here's what we're going to do. And if you wanted to check what Topps has to say about Series 1, that might be a great time for it.
See, now you're wasting a minute.
I'm just trying to see if for them, like as they're thinking about their schedules, the best time to do that might be when you're opening a podcast.
Anyhow, Topps nerfed it. They took basically, in the past 2-3 years, hangers were one of the best values that Topps offered. The odds for pulling numbered cards and parallels were really high for the dollar price of the hanger, which used to be $10.99, $9.99, $10. I think they're $12.99 this year. Most stores, sometimes $11.99. Either way, $12 or so. But they took 80% of the stuff out of those and put them in jumbos. So now jumbos are where the big really value is in Series 1 this year. Hobby still has good value because it's the only place you can get the clears, the acetates, the number to 10. I always like to chase those. I've never hit very many of them, but I like chasing them. But the jumbos, and that's why jumbo prices have really just from release
Where are we
day,
at now? Are we over
We're about
250?
We're about 250.
Okay.
You can still find them. Some hobby shops for 200, 220, little smaller shops that have lower traffic and they're still on their first order. But 250, I think, is about where they're at on DA and on blowout.
Yeah.
And even at that price point, I still don't think it's awful. The gold mirrors are holding their value really well. Mm-hmm. It's just, and the rookie class is so loaded. We've talked about it before that I don't think you can go wrong with it. Even if you just want to rip it, you're going to find some cool stuff.
And for those of you that buy retail mostly, I mean, most of those blasters are what, 25 to 30 now?
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting dollars into Topps retail.
Card for card, I didn't do the math on it, but a jumbo box is going to be the equivalent of how many blasters?
Well, a jumbo box is supposed to, historically, a jumbo box should get you about 80% of a complete set.
Yep.
So
if you're going to be opening 5 or 6 blasters, it doesn't take too long to realize for another $50, I'm
you're way better
just
off.
getting a hobby box, and I have there's some guarantees and a better chance.
If you're going to buy a hobby box, you can still buy hobbies for $80.
Jumbo.
Yeah, if you want a jumbo, you're about $250. But hobbies, $80 to $90, you can still get them for.
Having said that, if I see some of those hangers, I'll probably grab a couple. But just lower expectations with it.
For sure.
Also, if you're in an area with Meyer, there is no S. It's Meyer.
Yep.
Also, blowing your mind, Kroger.
Yeah, also Walmart.
Yeah. Also, not the Walmarts.
No. We're just ragging on our area real hard right now.
Okay.
But Meyer, what you were going to say is until the 5th? No, the 11th. Mm-hmm. Today's the 10th, I think, 9th? Today's the 10th. So one more day. If you hear this, your area Meyer has buy one get one 50% off, which means that you're paying what basically retail would be anywhere else because Meyer's about 20% higher than
But their
everybody.
shelves were pretty stocked, and that's why they're doing that.
They can't. Oh yeah, because they can't sell their stuff because they're overpriced.
That just reminded me. How much more time do people have to redeem 2022 Topps, Chrome, Judge, and Goldschmidt's? Are we out of time?
No, but every card shop has the ability to shut that off whenever they want to. Because I know Game Time shut it down yesterday.
Okay.
Topps announced that they're still running the promo. The reason shops are shutting it down is because it's taking Topps a while to reimburse them. So they're taking in, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 worth of this stuff on a weekly basis. Are you dying over here? Jason's just trying to sneeze and hold it in. He plugged his nose. I thought his brains might come out his ears.
Not so lucky this time.
But so hobby shops are stuck holding the bag for $1,500, $2,000 a week worth of this stuff coming through their doors, and it's taken Topps 6 to 8 weeks to pay them out. So you end up with a pretty hefty chunk of change you're floating Topps.
Oh yeah. Yep. NFL Donruss retail.
Yep, came out this week. Haven't found any yet, but I'll grab some blasters when it do. I will never
some quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm never paying for Donruss Hobby. It's insane. $250, $300 a box for Donruss. Hell, 2 years ago it was a $500, $600 box. Mm-hmm. No, thank you. But some blasters at $27? Yeah, I'll rip 3-4 of those. Throw some rated rookies into sleeves.
Who's your Davis Mills this year?
Really?
I'm just until you pay your debts.
Really? That's how we're gonna.
No,
That's how we're gonna play this. I think I paid that debt with Taco Bell.
No, because I used the $27 from the Estuary Ruiz.
Okay, so then
as a credit,
but that was supposed to be for this show this weekend.
Yes.
So that went to the Taco Bell instead. So you still owe me $15 from the Taco. No, $15 from the Taco Bell.
Yes.
And then you got a table fee this weekend.
And then let's apply Davis Mills in there.
So if we really get crazy with this whole thing, you still owe me like $10, $12.
I have something better than money.
Do you?
IOUs. Alrighty. Glad we could solve that. Thank you for joining us for couples therapy. Yeah, Donruss Retail. I like it because I want to buy it myself. Don't get into breaks with this stuff. I'm begging you.
No.
Unless there's a quarterback that's maybe more of a sleeper that you're high on. That
Again, remember, this is not this upcoming class. This is like the Kenny Pickett class.
Yeah.
Malik Willis ain't a sleeper, guys.
Your peak here, guys, is a $5 raw card.
Right.
In peak.
And maybe you'll hit a downtown.
And I'm not sending off a Donruss base for grading.
Not at this point.
No, not right now.
Not until some of these guys turn into Josh Allen.
Yep.
You know.
But I will say this: whenever the quarterback class is supposed to suck, those are boxes I like to buy and hang on to.
Because you never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Hedge your bets. All right. Let's talk NFL Combine. You have some things to say.
I hate the Combine. I hate it with a passion. It is a dog and pony show that has so little to do with actual skill on a football field that it's not funny. And you're going to see...
How much of the Combine is marketing the NFL?
90%.
I didn't expect an exact percentage. It was more of a rhetorical.
Oh, okay. Well,
I do
you got
appreciate
one.
you breaking down the math for me.
Yeah. It's...
CombineReference.com, guys.
It is nothing more than a short... I don't care if you are a athlete that is capable of playing college football, really at any level, and you were a productive player, you're going to look good in shorts and a t-shirt, and you're going to be able to do things against air, and then people lose their minds. Anthony Richardson,
Here we go.
just put
Hold on a second. If you're somebody that likes to clip segments, I'm looking in Gary's eyes, and he's about to say something. So you might want to clip this one off and save it for later in this football season.
Yeah,
next
feel
year.
free. Anthony Richardson just went to the Combine and put on one of the most ridiculous displays of athleticism that you will ever see from a quarterback. To be frank, it's one of the most ridiculous displays of athleticism that you'll ever see from a skill position player. And that's awesome. The dude jumped out of the building in the high jump. He jumped across the building in the standing broad jump. He ran like a 4.440. He threw the ball with a flick of his wrist 70 yards. That's all amazing. You go look at his film. How many times on a football field does a quarterback need to jump 11 feet forward? How many times does he need to jump 46 inches straight up in the air? How many times does he need to, with a flick of his wrist against air, throw the ball 65 yards? He doesn't. None of those things matter on a football field. You know what I see when I watch film of Anthony Richardson? A dude that can't read a book, let alone a defense. I see a dude who completed 53.7% of his passes. I see a dude who panics for no reason the minute that the first thing he looks at isn't there. He's a bad football player.
Point of reference here, I'll just mention a few names where those types of speeds, verticals, and arms could come into play.
Sure.
If we're talking about capacity.
Okay.
Please let me get through all three names and maybe write these down because for these guys,
Yeah.
this really does seem to matter.
Okay.
One of them's named Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Another guy named Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Another guy named Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
All three of those guys have the physical capacity to do those things and use them pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying guys that can't do those things won't ever do those things.
All three of those guys actually put film together for 3 or 4 years in college
Fair.
where they looked like
But
functional
I'm saying
quarterbacks.
You can't say that those things aren't going to come into play. They're
what I'm saying
significant.
is they're not significant to that position. The reason that those three guys are what they are on a football field, when you watched Lamar Jackson play football in college, did he complete 54% of his passes? No, he won a Heisman Trophy.
I know.
Josh Allen was
You're
a
putting
monster.
a blanket statement out.
The blanket statement is that when does Josh Allen need to jump 40 inches in the air in a football game?
Which, did you see Josh Allen's 40 in the combine?
No.
He ran like Forrest Gump's with his arms down.
Oh, yeah.
It was
like
bad.
my point being that the position, Stetson Bennett will be a better NFL quarterback than Anthony Richardson.
He's got a lot more life experience.
He does. I saw a meme the other day that he just ran the fastest quarterback 40 time in combine history for anybody over the age of 40. But the point being that these guys come in. Will Levis was the same way at the combine. Mm-hmm. Will Levis is an athletic freak. He's got probably the best arm in the draft.
Yes, he does.
Dan McGuire also had the best arm in his draft.
Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell had maybe the best arm ever. Jeff George had the best arm in
You know
his
what
draft.
Jamarcus Russell didn't have?
An inability to not drink codeine like soda pop. I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
I don't know if that's how that works in the media world. Can I change gears and let you come back to this?
Yeah, I was really getting into my groove. But
I know,
go ahead.
but it's
That's
getting
fine.
annoying.
I know.
So let's just give everyone
And
a
we're
palate
trying to
cleanser.
speed through this guy.
I want to talk about one good story out of the combine
Okay.
that I liked, and this is a football thing.
Okay.
Also devastating. So UFC's Andrew Voorhees tears his ACL in the combine.
He's a lineman, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Tears his ACL in the combine.
Related to Jason?
Can I tell the story
Go ahead.
without...
It's a bad
your
joke.
it was terrible.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to drink this monster while you talk.
Yeah, please drink more
ahead.
of that.
Go ahead.
That's what we need is more of that. Anyway, tears his ACL, decides to still do the bench press, and puts up 38 reps.
That's impressive.
Like, imagine getting the most devastating, unlucky news of your life and then being like, what do you want to do? And being like, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
And imagine how that knee felt with
Well, that's what I
your
was
feet
just
on
going
the
to
ground.
Because you're
pushing
using
that-
your legs when you
Yes.
bench press. You really are.
So he's got heart.
Yeah.
That was cool to see.
And he may get drafted and sit out a year.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a lot cheaper than he was going to be.
Right.
But go back to ripping on who's up now.
No, Will Levis.
Will Levis.
Same thing. You watch the film. There's nothing on Will Levis's film that indicates that he can be a even competent quarterback at the college level, let alone the NFL level. And here's the problem with the combine. Those two guys go in and do athletically freaky things, and some GM, I've said this multiple times, is going to think they're the smartest guy in the room and that their coaching staff can magically do something that 20 years worth of other coaches couldn't do with these guys.
Yep.
They're going to draft them in the first round. They're going to set their franchises back 10 years.
Yeah, and what do those programs know about coaching that his Pee Wee coach didn't know? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about his Pee Wee coach.
Well, that's a couple of the years.
Well, you know what my point is.
Yeah.
My point is that the things that make a quarterback successful more than anything else, because if we agree that there's a baseline of arm talent that you need to start at quarterback in the NFL.
Sure.
If we agree that that's a baseline, if we agree that there's a baseline of mechanics that you need in order to function at the NFL, then what is it that sets apart the guys who are great from the guys who are average and then the guys who are trash? The ability to
IQ.
the ability to process information quickly
Football IQ.
and to not panic. You don't magically go from a guy who completes 50% of his passes to a guy who completes 65 to 70% of his passes, which is something that is a requirement to be a competent quarterback in the current NFL.
You were this worked up at the combine.
Yeah.
Let me paint you a picture. Hear me out.
I am on my second monster.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Football season's over. And let's be honest. There's not another sport that creates the type of fan experience like football.
Correct.
We're in a drought here. The draft's coming up, but we're not there.
Right.
Let people freak out about combines.
Well,
I'm just saying, you got to understand, this is just a little bit of football in between, baby.
It is, but if your team is the one who drafts one of these idiots, don't be excited about it.
I'm a Dolphins fan. It's going to happen.
There's nothing to be excited about if one of those guys gets taken in the first round. Now, if you take Anthony Richardson or Will Levis in the third round,
right,
the fourth round,
yeah,
now there's value. And if you can turn them into something, cool. But these guys are Zach Wilson.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
That's who they are.
Yeah, we don't want to keep watching the Zach Wilson experiment play out in the hobby.
Right.
Especially. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Anyway, draft's coming up. The only thing I wanted to say, which is not really draft related, could be, I guess, but Miami's restructuring some contracts this week.
Lamar, baby.
If Lamar Jackson ends up in South Beach, is that the fastest team we've seen in NFL in quite a while?
It's going to make defensive coordinators' heads explode.
Oh, you want me to sit in the pocket? Okay. You don't want to contain? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it will make defensive court. Lamar Jackson won a unanimous league MVP, and his best receiver was Marquise Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have Gesicki, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill.
The weapons that would be there offensively will be really hard to stop.
As a defensive coordinator against that, you're so screwed. Because of the speed of the receivers and the design of the offense where there's so many deep crossers, you can't waste a linebacker spying Lamar.
And here's the problem. And I know that Bills fans are going to laugh really hard and disagree with me. We lost in that. We had two really close games.
Yeah.
The last game we lost. Miami gave the game plan of how you beat the Bills. Their run defense actually isn't good.
No, correct.
And it got really exposed. A Lamar in there in that division?
Running RPOs?
I don't see how Miami could lose the division. I don't see how.
I think you're not giving the Bills enough credit for recognizing what they need to shore up in the offseason.
Fair.
I do think it makes the Dolphins and the Bills co-favorites.
And maybe a Tua trade's right around the corner, somewhere where everybody's going to love him and I can unload all these cards.
All right.
All right.
Anyhow.
Do you want to jump to baseball?
It's time.
All right. It's that favorite time of the year.
We're getting into spring
We
training
are
time. We're
still talking about prospecting. And now we're going to move to probably my least favorite division in baseball, just filled with teams that I don't like and historically have hated the AL East. So
much hate in your heart.
We have been getting some good feedback. Those of you that are baseball nerds have really been enjoying this, so I do want to establish that. I love this too so much. Let's keep doing it. But let's go ahead and jump in. Let's start out with the O's. A name real familiar to everybody, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, I really hesitated with whether to talk about Jackson Holiday because if you're a prospecting person at all, you already know about him. But here's why I chose to talk about Jackson Holiday. He has been getting regular at-bats during spring training, like playing every day, getting 2 to 3 at-bats a day during spring training as a true 19-year-old with 20 professional games at rookie and low A ball under his belt before coming to spring training this year. The dude's hitting almost 400. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not showing a ton of pop, but he's 19. Mm-hmm. He's hitting almost 400 in spring training against pitchers who are double and triple A pitchers, a lot of them. But again, he's 19 doing that against double and triple A pitchers.
Here's one thing that's happening between last year and this year that is encouraging to me with him. Not that there's anything discouraging, but they're talking about speed improvement at 19.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 60 grade runner.
Improving on your speed at that age, there's more. Well, like that's not, you can get a little faster. You can definitely get stronger.
Yeah.
Usually there's like a ratio of speed and strength.
Well, when you have those kind of bloodlines, it's one of two things happens. when your dad is a borderline. I mean, there's guys who would make the argument that if Harold Baines got in the Hall of Fame, that Matt Holliday should get in the Hall of Fame. Like, your dad's a guy who hit almost 300 for his career, hit 300 home runs, had 2,000 hits. One of two things is going to happen if you are a baseball player as a kid. You're either going to hate the game or you're going to love the game. Mm-hmm. There's no in between. No. This kid obviously loves the game and wants to be the best.
He's not cheap. He's expensive.
No, he's expensive. I just wanted to talk about him because of the fact that what he's doing.
Bowman first product?
2022 draft.
Yeah,
2022 draft, the most recent edition. So
up next, I'm going to keep it moving.
Yep, we got to keep it moving.
We got a tea time for a simulator.
We do.
Outfielder Heston Kanabayeval Kjerstad.
Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah.
So Kjerstad was drafted in 2020, and then he missed in a year and a half because of a heart condition. Mm-hmm. Came back last year and torched the minors, and again in spring training hitting almost 600. Mm-hmm. Great bat. Fielding, who knows? Who cares? He can DH if he has to. The dude's going to hit. Played his college ball at Arkansas, first round pick, and it looked like the things were going to come off the rails. It's a really great story to see him coming back. His stuff's actually somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
Based upon what he's doing production wise.
And the timing and what was going on in the hobby, and people kind of wanting a quick flip, and then it wasn't going to happen. So.
Yep. So his stuff is still available, and he's a guy who I would not be shocked to see in the bigs at some point this year.
If you're somebody that's like me, where you're not a huge Bowman guy, but you always get some of that and keep stuff away, you probably have some of his first sitting around and don't realize it.
Yeah, he was in 2020 draft.
Connor Norby.
This is a kid who I've liked for a couple of years. He's never going to be a top 10 prospect, even in his own organization. He is a top 100 prospect in baseball. Second baseman, he's going to stick at second base, and he's going to hit the ball, and he's going to play adequate defense. He's going to be a 6-7 hitter who's going to produce.
He's going to put a lot in the gap. Doesn't look like massive home run numbers.
No, he's not huge.
He can drive the ball really well, and his ability to pick up what's being thrown.
I mean, he did hit 29 jacks last year.
Yes, he's hitting line drives. I think as he moves up, that's going to be a little harder to keep those numbers.
He's a 20 home run
with
guy,
his frame.
Yeah, I think he's a 20 guy.
5'11", 180. Not a big guy.
Nope.
But as the one thing that the scouts are noticing is he picks up the fastball right away. I know it sounds silly, but he's getting to that point where he's going to see all kinds of movement, and he can tell, all right, I'll time this up. This is a fastball.
Old guy comp. If you want an old guy comp, he reminds me a lot of Dan Ugla. If you remember Dan Ugla.
It's a blast from the past.
But he reminds me a lot of Dan Ugla.
All right, let's move up to Beantown of Boston. Tristan Casas.
Everybody knows about Tristan Casas. Got called up at the end of last year. Average was low the few games he played, but his bat to ball was good. It's not like he was striking out a lot. He's already raking in spring training. He's going to be the opening day first baseman, DH. Him and Bobby Dahlbeck will flip back and forth between DH and first base, but they're both going to get regular at bats. I think Casas is a kid who is going to have a high average and has all kinds of power.
6'5", 252.
Yeah. He's
6'4", 252.
Very Jim Tomei-like.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit better bat to ball, but the same kind of power as Jim Tomei.
Looking over, so he's been in the minors a few years. How old is he?
He's not that old. He just got drafted. He's 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're used to all these 18, 19-year-olds.
But he's gonna spend the whole year in the majors. He's gonna be right there in the Rookie of the Year balloting.
Okay. Miguel Blaise.
Miguel Blaise.
He was all over that Bowman product.
Oh yeah, well he was Bowman Chrome.
Yeah.
In 2021.
It's like 2019 Panini Basketball and Goga Batazzi. You couldn't get away from him.
Yeah, well now you're happy that you couldn't get away from him. Spent last year in rookie ball, but man, the tools jump off the page. He is a big projectable kid, 6'3", he's 170, he's going to be 200 pounds. The power is just silly. Good arm, plus field, average hit. He's going to be a big league regular on the trend that he's on. I think he's a guy who starts the year in low A, ends the year at double A, has a 3-level move. I guess there's a chance he could make a 4-level move, but they're excited about this kid in Boston. He's only 19.
Let's move on. Sedane Rafaela.
Kid took minor leagues by storm last year. He wasn't on anybody's radar. A lot like Jackson Churio was not on anybody's radar. He's just a little bit older. Little guy, but for his size, he's got juice. He's only 5'8".
152.
Yeah, he's 5'8", 152, but he got to Double-A last year, and the kid hit 12 jacks in Double-A. He had 21 home runs last year in 120 games.
And he's a true utility fielder. Like he can play.
Yeah, he can play all three
Yeah.
outfield spots. He can play. He won't play any first, but he can play second, short, maybe a little bit of third. Height is going to hurt him at third because range is going to be a little sticky. But again, really good hitter. And the really nice thing with him is his average exit velos are really high, which is going to translate if he can get some more lift to even more home runs. And for his size, the amount of power he has is really impressive. And his stuff is reasonable.
Okay.
Next.
The worst team in all of sports, the most corrupt program to ever exist, basically organized crime.
Oh, your hate for the Yankees is crazy.
New York Yankees.
Now, before we get into these three guys, I'm going to tell you who we're not talking about. We're not talking about Anthony Volpe.
Oh, thank God.
We're not talking about Oswald Peraza. We're not talking about, Oswaldo Cabrera.
Do you want me to pull up the full list? You can read. There's like 100 top prospects.
These are guys that everybody
we
knows
got
about already.
77 more we can read.
My point is these are guys that everybody knows about
really bad
already. So we don't need to talk about those guys.
Right. And this first one nobody's heard of, Jason Dominguez.
Well, nobody's heard him, but I want to talk about him because
what's the latest?
So much hype in 2020.
Yeah.
And then everybody forgot he was 16 years old.
Yes.
And had never taken a swing at any professional pitch in his life. And he came over here and struggled really badly, as one would expect for a teenager who should be a junior in high school trying to hit guys that are 22 years old.
Yep.
And then he started to figure it out.
I mean, last year, 273.
Yeah. Last year, he got Double-A.
16 home runs, 7 triples.
Yeah, played really well. He's really fast. And then right now in spring training,
23 doubles.
He's hit 3 jacks in spring training.
Yeah.
He's hitting 400 in spring training. He's not going to break camp with the team, but he's a lot closer to the bigs than people thought he was going to be.
Closer to that cup of coffee. You know what I'm talking about?
The most optimistic projections for him when he came over in that international class were a 2024, 2025 big league debut. Yeah. I think there's a chance if there's some injuries late in the year, he may get a shot. I think he'll start the year in AAA.
There's, a lot of people thought he's not affordable. He actually is, because a lot of people jumped off the wagon when they realized autos aren't, but you can get a lot of his stuff reasonably because people don't want to wait. It's ironic. People playing prospecting, wanting to flip cards, it's like got to happen right away or you're holding. And I think more people thought that there was going to be an immediate return on Dominguez. He is a kid. Give it a couple years. I would get something that's, because he was so hyped.
He's only 20 now.
I would get something that's, get some Bowman color, get something graded, something a little more SP. I think there's going to be more value there than all the base chrome firsts that are out there. And
and he was a guy he's a guy who feels like he's been around for a decade. Yep. He's only 20.
Yep. Up next, you're going to love this. It's a catcher. Austin Wells.
Austin Wells, a little bit older. He was a college bat. He's 2023. I think he makes the bigs this year. Whether he breaks camp with the team or not, I think he's in the bigs by the middle of the year. His bat just can't be denied. His bat can't be denied. Crazy amounts of power, good bat to ball skills. I mean, he hit 20 home runs last year, and he hit 280?
Yep.
Yeah, 280 on the season. As a catcher, that's plus.
Yes, for sure.
And he's got a cannon arm.
Is there a revival of catchers happening?
There is. I mean, I've said this a few times that people who hate catchers are going to be SOL because right now there's so much value in the minor leagues at the catcher position that it's not funny. Also, Austin Wells looks goofy as hell, and I enjoy watching him play.
Up next, Roderick Arias.
So, I only wanted to talk about Roderick Arias for one reason.
Arias.
He was a big chase in 2022 draft. Okay? If you're spending money on a kid who's never played past the DSL, until he got to rookie ball last year. He played 31 games in rookie ball, and he hit sub 200. This is the type of cat the Yankees threw $4.5 million at because physically they look at guys like O'Neal Cruz. They look at guys like Ellie De La Cruz, and they think if there's a chance that this kid with his tools could become that, we're going to throw some money at it and see what happens. Right now, this cat is not anybody I would put a dime into unless you could literally get his stuff for a dime because the range of outcomes is so wide that it's literally just gambling. You might as well just go to the casino and put your chips on black and hope for the best. But he is a toolbox. He's an absolute toolbox.
Okay. Let's go down Tampa Bay. Those Rays.
They've always got a prospect run.
Yeah.
They always do.
Let's start out with pitching. Taj Bradley.
I don't talk about pitchers a ton. This team, we're going to have one. The next team, we've got two. Taj Bradley is a freak show. He's just a freak show. He's 21. He's got a plus fastball. Curves decent. His cutter's filthy.
The break is really late on his stuff, which
great control. He's going to be up at some point this year. I'll be shocked if he's not. He spent about half the year at AAA last year. They got his innings up. That was a big thing. They needed to see some innings up from him. He's just filthy. And he got on a run last year. His stuff got a little bit hot. It's down a little bit now. But if you're going to buy pitchers, you could do worse than grabbing some Taj Bradley stuff.
Up next, shortstop that was born the year I graduated high school, and that makes me feel old. Carson Williams, power.
Corey Seager.
Polished.
Yeah, Corey Seager is the comp with Carson Williams. He's rail thin right now. He's got room to add about 15, 20 pounds. But like you said, he's got lots of power.
And he did do it last year. So what that means is it just needs a little bit of time. He can get some more weight on.
Yeah, for sure. First round pick in 2021 draft. That's the product that he's in. His first or in 2020-21 draft. He hits the ball. He's got really good power. He's going to stick it short. He's got the range and the arm to stick it short. And, I mean, high A ball is a 19-year-old playing 2.5 years under the league average age. Hit 19 jacks. He had 70 RBIs, stole 28 bases. Did strike out a good bit, so there's some approach issues. But
and they're saying it's especially struggling against the really good pitching. So in those kind of bigger moments, not as much moments, but when somebody has a little more stuff, a little more sauce.
He's 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even striking out as much as he did, around a 30% clip, he still had an OPS of over 800.
So here's what I would say.
His on-base percentage is 100 points higher than his batting average.
If you're not sure, then what you do with a guy like this is you watch the contact rate. If you see that start to improve, that means things are starting to click.
Yeah.
If you really want to get deep in the weeds, find out who the best pitching is when he's up against an ace. Is the contact rate going up over this year? And that may be a really good indicator if you're worried about the strikeouts.
Fangraphs will give you all that information.
Yep. Up next, Mason Hour.
Yep. So Mason Hour is a kid who, again, there were 2 or 3 other guys on this list that people know more about. Manzardo, Curtis Mead. You already know those guys if you're into this at all. Mason Hour may be a guy that you don't know a ton about. He was a 5th-round pick, which Tampa Bay does such a great job with these mid-round picks. They really do. They find guys that project and that they can develop. Has a cannon for an arm, an absolute howitzer for an arm, 70 grade arm. Really good power, really good speed. He was a JUCO kid and really came on strong last year. And I think there's a lot of optimism coming into this year. He hit 290 last year, hit 15 jacks, doesn't strike out much at all. He had 22% strikeout guy, stole a lot of bases. There's a lot to like with Mason Hour.
I keep talking about this, but it's something that you're going to notice a theme with all these prospects. So the scouting report's talking about his swing. The biggest adjustment he made is he shortened up that load when he's getting ready to swing.
When your swing's long, it's hard to hit velo.
Yep. So he's doing the right kind of work with it. And they're saying his arm isn't just strong; it's extremely strong. Like from the mound, mid-90s strong.
Yes.
So
70 grade arm is crazy.
That's really up there.
Yeah, and you can get his stuff reasonable. You can buy his base autos right now for $50, $50, $60.
Yep. All right. we're going to wrap this out with probably my least hated team in this division.
Also the worst farm system in this division. It's rough.
The Blue Jays.
It's rough out in them streets in Toronto right now.
Ricky Tiedemann.
You got it. You got it the first shot. Tiedemann.
I'm convinced you just picked names that phonetically look difficult.
So here's what you need to know about the Blue Jays.
Pitcher. 6'4", 220.
Blue Jays top 10 prospects, 7 of them are pitchers. That's what the state of their farm system right now.
Somebody spent a lot of money in the last 5 years.
Yeah, Tiedemann was a high school arm drafted in the 3rd round. He's got juice.
That's
man.
it.
He's got juice. He's got really, really good command. Fast. Here's the thing about Tiedemann. None of his pitches are like, holy crap. But all of his pitches are really good. A little bit like Carlos Rodon.
Okay.
Like a little bit like Carl. Nothing makes you go. It's not like he's throwing a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's throwing 94 with movement. It's not like he's throwing a slider that breaks 18 inches, but he can backdoor you with it. Like, he's that kind of a pitcher. And where did he get to last year? Double-A? Yeah, he made it to Double-A last year. Overall numbers, I think the goal for him this year with the Blue Jays is just going to be to get those innings up and see what he can do with a little bit heavier load. But again, wouldn't shock me to see this kid make a debut late in the year as a bullpen arm and then see what happens from there.
All right. Let's keep this train going with another pitcher. Brandon Barriera.
Brandon Barriera has yet to make a pitch as a professional. High school arm has a lot of potential. And that's what people are basing this stuff on. He's a big kid, 6'2", 180. First round pick. He's 3 years away at a minimum. But the ball moves coming off of his hand. Anytime you have a lefty that has good movement, you're thinking your worst case is the long relief guy. But there's a lot of hope that this kid can be a real true top 3 level starter, if he continues to progress.
There's one thing he's doing that's a little bit rare at that age to do well, and it's being able to sell the changeup with the arm speed.
Yeah.
That's something that usually it's going to take a few more years.
Guys
than what
don't trust it. They don't trust that their grip is going to do the work.
And his fastball, low 90s, maybe hits 95, 96, nothing crazy.
Joe Ryan.
But he has a tendency to kind of pitch aggressively and go after the batter. He's got a lot of confidence.
He's not afraid to throw the ball in the zone.
No, he's not. Up next to wrap this up, and you're going to love it, and you're going to be shocked that we have
I had to throw one in
catcher for you, Luis Mesa.
So I had to throw him in for 2 reasons. One, he's a catcher, and I knew you would have something to say about another catcher being in here. But I'm also throwing him in here because he's a top 20 prospect in the organization, and he's 18 years old. He's a little guy, but he's still growing. He's 5'10", 150 pounds. Solid behind the plate. He's one of those dudes that's just solid across the board. He's not going to be, anything that makes your hair stand on end and lights the world on fire. He was in the DSL last year, struggled a little bit, but I think that the Blue Jays have a lot of faith in the fact that he's going to continue to progress. I'd like to see him get to low A ball, or at least the complex this year, before we go crazy with him. But anytime you're a top 20 prospect in an organization and you're just now old enough to vote, it's worth talking about. And his stuff is cheap. It's a good flyer.
We had to dig a little deep in Toronto.
Oh, it's rough. Yeah. It's rough in the streets in Toronto right now.
There's a lot of, maybe this will become what these other teams have. So,
100%.
You know what?
Did we hit our target?
Yeah, we did. And you weren't as annoying as normal for that part.
Oh, thank you so much.
So
I will take that backhanded compliment. Yeah.
Because normally I want to, well, I can't say it, but it's not good. Oh. And this has been great. Are we done yet? Or we have more divisions, don't we? We've only done like 4.
We've got 2 more divisions to go.
My gosh.
I told you we're timing this up for opening day, maybe.
Well, the fans love it, so we can't go against that.
You have so much hate in your heart.
No,
For
I
a
don't.
baseball
Oh.
guy, you hate this.
If you're listening, Friday, March 10th, join us tomorrow in Xenia, Ohio. We will
Yep.
be at the card show.
Yep. We will be there
Yes, y'all.
200
Mike.
tables strong. Come spend all day. Come to building number 2 first because that's where we'll be.
Yeah, that's where the action's at. Building number 2.
Yeah.
This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Esports Collector.
Bye now.
Peace.